Hi. Let me tell you why this show exists. A few months ago, I was sitting with a client, a woman in her early 50s, incredibly sharp, financially successful, and she had just lost her mother. And she called me, not because she needed a real estate agent. She called me because she didn't know who else to call. She had inherited a home. It's a fantastic, beautiful home.
Beautiful home.
And she had no idea what to do with it. Not legally, not financially, not emotionally. And I remember thinking, how many women are in exactly this moment right now and have no one, absolutely no one to call? That question is why we're here.
I've been in this business since 1979. I have been in that room on both sides of that table more times than I can even count. I can tell you with complete certainty, the women who come out of those moments with their wealth intact and not the ones who were smartest or the most prepared. They were the ones who had the right counsel at the right time. That's what this show is.
Welcome to Wealth, War, and Real Estate. I am Natalie Francine.
And I'm Alexis Nassif.
And this is episode 1 of season 1, Legacy, Luxury, and Life Transitions. Today we start where every great strategy starts, with a story, Alexis's story. And I promise you it will change how you think about this industry, about wealth, and about what it means to build something that lasts. Before we dive in, I want to give you a sense of what this show is going to be and what it is not. This is not a show about listing prices or interest rates. There are plenty of those out there. This is a show about the moments in your life when real estate and wealth intersect with something much bigger, a death, a divorce, an inheritance, a decision about what your children will have when you are gone. These are the moments that define families, and most people navigate them completely alone.
I want to add, Natalie, something to that. When I started in real estate in 1979, women were an afterthought in this industry. We were just tolerated. We were misunderstood and underestimated, and we almost never, were at the table when those real decisions were made. That has changed, but not enough, not nearly enough. Women are inheriting wealth at historic rates. Women are the primary financial decision makers in most households. Women are the ones sitting with attorneys after a divorce, after a death, and a life that didn't go the way they planned. And they deserve a show built specifically for them. So that's what we built. For women, by women.
Here is the number I want you to carry with you for the entire run of this show. $84 trillion. That is the estimated values of assets, homes, investment accounts, businesses, life insurance policies, property that is transferring right now from the silent generation and baby boomers to their heirs, Gen X and millennials. 84 trillion. That number is so large, it doesn't feel real. But here is what is real. a significant portion of that wealth will not survive the transfer.
And I'm not talking about bad investments or market crashes. I'm talking about families who had no plan, estates that went into probate when they didn't have to, property sold at a loss in the middle of grief, divorce where one spouse walked away with far less than they were entitled to because nobody told them what they were actually holding. I have watched this happen to good families, smart families, wealthy families, and almost every time it was preventable.
That is what this entire season is about. Not just understanding real estate, understanding how real estate fits into the larger story of your financial life, your family, and your legacy. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Alexis, take us back to 1979.
Okay, 1979. I was younger than I had any right to be doing this work. And I walked into my first real estate office and I told the broker I wanted a job. He looked at me the way men looked at women in 1979 and said, "Honey, you might want to think about doing something else." And I said, "I'll think about that after I outsell everyone in your office." Mm-hmm. And he hired me.
And did you, Alexis? Did you outsell everyone in that office?
Well, by year 3, I did outsell everyone in that office. But here's the thing, and this is important. It was not because I was the smartest person in that office. It was because I listened differently than most agents listened. When a client told me what they wanted, I heard that. But I also listened for what they were afraid of, what they weren't saying, what the house meant to them, beyond square footage and commute times. Real estate is never about the property. It is about the life the person is trying to build or protect or leave behind. Once I understood that, everything changed.
That's a profound reframe. Most agents are trained to sell the property. You, Alexis, were selling something else.
I was selling certainty in an uncertain moments. Think about what it means to buy a home, especially for a woman, especially in those years. You are making the largest financial commitment of your life. You are betting on the future. You are trusting that the person across from you on that table is telling you the truth. My job was never to close a deal. My job was to be the person my client could trust completely. The rest followed.
You became known for two things specifically that I would want to talk about right now. The Queen of FSBOs, for sale by owner, and the Agent to the Stars. Two very different worlds. How did those worlds come together?
They're actually the same world, just a different price point. FSBO clients, homeowners, trying to sell without an agent were considered the most difficult clients in the industry. Agents avoided them. They were territorial. They didn't want to pay commission. They thought they knew more than you. I love them because under all those types of resistance was a homeowner who was scared. scared they were going to make a mistake, scared they were going to leave money on the table. That's a big one. Scared that the biggest asset they owned was going to be mishandled. My approach was simple. I didn't try to convince them to list with me. I helped them first, always. I would give them data, comps, and guidance for free. And about 8 times out of 10, they would call me back and say, we've decided we do want to work with an agent. We want it to be you.
I love that.
Trust first, transaction second. That is the only order that works.
That's good. And the celebrity clients, that's a different kind of trust, right?
Absolutely. 100% completely different pressures, same principle. When you are working with a high-profile client, an entertainer, an executive, someone whose name is recognized, discretion is everything. They are not just buying a home, they are protecting their privacy, their security, their family. I had clients who would not tell me their last name on the first call. That's how careful they had to be. And I respected that completely. What I found is that wealthy people, truly wealthy people, are often the most anxious real estate clients because they have the most to lose and they have been burned before by people who wanted to use their proximity for something other than service. When those clients trusted me, it was the highest compliment this business has ever given me.
40 plus years in this business. If you had to name one transaction, one moment that changed how you practice real estate forever, what was it?
I'll tell you, but I need you to understand it wasn't a success story at all. Early in my career, I had a client, a woman older than me, recently widowed. Her husband had handled everything, absolutely everything, financial. The house, the accounts, the investments. She was not uninformed. She was simply never included. She came to me to sell the house. Beautiful home, good equity. I sold it quickly at a good price. I thought I had done my job, as I always did. Mm-hmm. About a year later, I ran into her daughter, and the daughter told me that her mother had spent almost the entire estate sale within 18 months. Not on anything extravagant, just unguided. No plan, no one to tell her how to hold it, how to make it work for her. The money was gone. The house was gone. And she was starting over at 72. I never forgot that. And from that point forward, I refused to treat a real estate transaction as a transaction. It is a life event. And my job does not end when the papers are signed. That woman needed counsel that went beyond the closing table. I didn't know how to give it to her then. I have now spent the rest of my career learning how.
That story is this show. That's exactly what this show is trying to prevent.
Exactly. And there are millions of women in that position right now. Not because they are not capable, because they were never given the right information at the right time. That is what I want to change. This is what we are going to change.
Let's talk about the thing that is happening right now. The thing that prompted this entire show and this entire season. The great wealth transfer. I want to break this down in a way that actually lands for you, because when you hear $84 trillion, the number is so large, it stops meaning anything. So let me make it smaller. The average baby boomer household holds roughly $250,000 in home equity. That's the average. Many homes hold far more. And that equity in most families is the single largest asset being passed down. Now, multiply that by 73 million baby boomers. That is the scale of what is moving. And the movement has already begun.
And here is what the data does not capture: the emotional complexity of that transfer. Real estate is not a stock certificate. You can't divide it into equal shares and distribute it cleanly. It has history. It has memories. It has a mother who planted a garden in the backyard and a father who built the deck himself with his own hands. When a family has to decide what to do with that property, sell it, keep it, rent it, divide it among siblings, they are not just making a financial decision. They are making a decision about who their family is going to be going forward. I have seen those decisions tear families apart, and I have seen them bring families together. The difference is almost always whether there was a plan.
In our practice at AN and Associates, we have identified 3 specific life moments when real estate decisions are most critical and most often mishandled. I want to walk through all 3. The first one is inheritance and probate.
This is where I see the most damage done, and it almost always stems from the same thing. No plan was made while there was still time to make one. Probate is the legal process by which a deceased person's estate is administered. And when real property is involved, a home, an investment, property, land, probate can be slow, expensive, and brutally public. Your parents' estate becomes a matter of public record. Creditors can make claims, and disputes between heirs can end up in court. And in the meantime, the property is sitting, not generating any income, often deteriorating, sometimes being sold at a fraction of the value just to resolve the estate. It does not have to go this way. Proper estate planning, trusts, beneficiary designations, clear titling can eliminate most of this, but it requires having the conversation before someone is gone.
The second moment is divorce.
Divorce is the one situation where I have seen financially capable women make more damaging decisions than anywhere else in this business. And I say that with complete empathy, because when you are in the middle of a divorce, you are not thinking clearly about finances. You are grieving. You are angry, you are frustrated, and you are exhausted. And you are being asked to make irreversible decisions about the rest of your life and the largest asset you own. The most common mistake I see women fighting to keep the house. when the house doesn't make financial sense to keep. Not because the house isn't worth keeping, sometimes it is, but because decision is being made emotionally rather than strategically. The house is not the marriage. The house is an asset, and an asset should be evaluated as an asset, even when it doesn't feel like one. It's the case.
The third moment is what I call the aging parent conversation. This is the conversation that almost no family has had and almost every family needs to have. Your parent owns a home, they are aging, and at some point they will not be able to live in that home independently. And when that moment comes, whether it is planned or sudden, there will be decisions that will significantly affect both their financial security and yours. Do you sell? Do you rent? Does a family member move in? Is there a reverse mortgage in play? What does the title say? Is there a will? Is the will current? These questions are not pleasant to ask, but they are far less painful to ask now than when you're under duress.
That's right.
I want to say something that might be uncomfortable, and Alexis, I'd love your reaction. The wealth transfer is not going to save most families. It's going to expose them. Because what most families are about to discover is that the wealth their parents built is far more fragile than they realized. And the systems designed to help them protect it are not built for them. Those systems are built for the people who already know how to navigate them.
Yep. You're right. And I want to be even more direct. The real estate industry has a complicated relationship with wealth transfer clients. An estate sale is often seen as a quick transaction, motivated seller, property that may need work, easy to pressure. I have watched agents take advantage of grieving families and not lose a moment's sleep over it. Divorce clients are often treated as commission opportunities in the middle of a crisis. This is not the whole industry. There are extraordinary professionals doing this work with integrity, but the system does not protect you from the ones who are not. The protection is knowledge. It is walking into those moments, knowing your rights, knowing the numbers, and knowing what questions to ask. That is literally what this show is designed to give you.
Yeah. I want to talk about women specifically because this show is for women by women. And I don't want that to just be a tagline. I want it to mean something. There is a narrative in our culture that women are less financially confident than men, less likely to invest, less likely to negotiate, less likely to take a calculated risk with their money. I want to push back on that narrative. I want to push back on it hard.
Push back all you want, Natalie. Mm-hmm. The data agrees with you. Studies consistently show that when women do invest, they outperform men. When women negotiate in real estate and they know how, they are extraordinarily effective. The empathy and the emotional intelligence intelligence, that is often framed as weakness in business contexts is, in real estate, an almost unfair advantage. I watched women read a room in a negotiation that men in that same room completely misread. I have watched women build client relationships that created referral networks that lasted decades. The problem is not capability. The problem is confidence that has been systematically eroded by an industry that, for a long time, did not want women at that table.
Unfortunate.
It is.
And by families that, with the best of intentions, often kept women out of the financial conversations.
That's the one that gets me the most. How many women in this audience grew up in a household where dad handled finances, where the investment accounts, the mortgage decisions, the estate planning, all of that happened in conversations you were not part of? That is not a character flaw. That is a cultural inheritance. And it ends with your generation.
I want to explain what for women, by women actually means in practice for this show. It means we will never talk down to you about money or real estate. We assume you are capable of understanding anything we put in front of you. It means we will talk about the emotional dimensions of these decisions, not as a weakness to overcome, but as valid, important parts of the process. It means we will tell you the uncomfortable truths, the ones the industry doesn't want you to know, the ones that would cost someone a commission if you knew them. And it means that when we recommend something, we will tell you why, not just what to do.
And it means I'm going to tell you stories from my career that I have never told publicly. Because I think the most powerful thing I can offer, more than market data, more than the negotiation tactics, is the truth about what I have seen over 45 years at this table. The deals that went wrong, the families that lost everything they should have kept, the moments where one conversation at the right time would have changed everything. Those stories are this season, and they are for you.
If you are listening to this and you are in the middle of something, a parent's decline, a marriage that's ending, an inheritance you don't know what to do with, I want to say this to you directly. You are not supposed to know how to navigate this alone. Nobody is. These are some of the most complex financial and emotional situations a person can face. The fact that you feel lost is not a failure. It is the appropriate response to a genuinely hard situation. You found this show, that's already the right move.
And I want to add, it is not too late. I have never, in 45 years plus, encountered a situation that was completely beyond help. Damaged, yes. Complicated, absolutely. But there is always something that can be done. There is always a way to protect more than you think you can protect. What I need from you is to stop waiting for someone to come to you with the right information. Come find it. Start here.
It's a good place to start.
It is.
Let me tell you what is coming in season 1. Because if this episode landed for you, the rest of the season is going to be essential.
Episode 2 is called Market Cycles, Money and Mindset. And I want to tell you up front, almost everything you believe about timing the real estate market is wrong. We are going to dismantle that and replace it with something that actually works.
Episode 3, we get into what luxury actually means. And I don't mean price point. I mean the principles behind true luxury real estate. Discretion, foresight, service, and how those principles apply to every client at every level.
Episode 4 is building wealth that lasts, not just buying investment property. Understanding how real estate fits into your generational wealth strategy. What to buy, when to buy, what mistakes cost people everything.
Episode 5 is one that I am particularly proud of, the female advantage. We are going to go deep on the specific strengths women bring to real estate decisions and how to leverage them in ways the industry has never fully acknowledged.
And then episodes 6 and 7 are the ones I think will matter most to the largest number of people listening right now. Episode 6, Real Estate During Divorce. I will tell you things in that episode that your attorney should have told you and probably didn't. Episode 7, Probate. We are going to make the process understandable, human, and navigable because right now it feels like none of those things for most families.
Episode 8 goes back to the great wealth transfer at a deeper level. What families need to actually do to prepare. Episode 9 is real stories from the front lines, anonymized but real. The lessons you only learn when you have been in the room. And episode 10, the season 1 finale, is about vision, where Alexis and I see this work going, and what comes next for every woman listening who wants to make sure her real estate story ends the way she intends for it to end.
10 episodes, 1 season. Everything I know about building wealth, protecting it, and passing it on. Don't miss a single one.
Before we close, I always want to leave you with the one thing, the single thing I want you to carry outside of this episode. Today it is this. The most expensive thing in real estate is not the property. It's the conversation you didn't have in time. A conversation with your parent about their estate. A conversation with your attorney before the divorce is filed. A conversation with a real estate professional who tells you the truth before you make the wrong decision. Those conversations are free. The consequences of not having them are not.
I have one thing to add to that. And 45 years plus, I have never had a client say to me, I wish I had waited longer to get good advice. Not once did that happen.
If this episode was valuable to you, and I hope it was, here is what we are asking you to do. First, subscribe. Wherever you are listening, hit subscribe. Season 1 has 9 more episodes, and every one of them builds on this one. Second, leave a review. I know that sounds like a small thing, but it really isn't. Reviews are how this show finds the women who need it most. If this episode spoke something to you in your life, take 2 minutes and tell us. We love to hear from you.
For sure.
Third, and this is the one I care about most, share this with one woman in your life right now. One woman who just inherited a home and doesn't know what to do with it. A woman who is navigating a divorce and is terrified about what happens to the house. A woman who has never had a real, honest conversation about her financial future. Send her this episode. Tell her it's for her, because it is for her.
Thank you for spending this time with us. This work, the work of helping women protect what they've built and build what they haven't yet, is the work I was made for. Also, just to remind you, we are not attorneys or tax accountants. I don't take this lightly, and I don't take your time lightly. We'll see you next week with more stories.
Until then, I am Natalie Francine.
And I'm Alexis Nassif.
This is Wealth, War, and Real Estate. Next week, Alexis is going to tell you the one thing every real estate investor believes that she knows is wrong.
Timing the market. We're going to talk about why chasing the perfect moment has cost more people more money than any recession in history.
And what to do instead. Episode 2 next week. See you then.
Tune in.